It's the Whisky Wizard.
Hello and welcome to the Whisky Wizard, where we say that whiskey making takes scientific knowledge and artisan skill and dedication, and a bit of the wizard's alchemy of light, air, earth, and fire. Tonight we're talking about the topic of pairing foods with whiskey. Now I have to start with a bit of a confession. Up until now, I rarely had whiskey with food. Whiskey was to be enjoyed before or after the meal. Now there's been one exception that I'll talk about later. During the meal, I've been more inclined to enjoy a nice glass of wine or a cold Pilsner. But I recently read a few articles and some books that delve considerably into this topic. So I've been convinced that whiskey can be a perfect complement to anything from hors d'oeuvres to dessert. And this ability to make great pairings includes bourbons, ryes, Scottish single malts, and Irish whiskeys. Suffice it to say, some types of whiskeys are more suited to certain types of cuisine. In the USA, we've been overall less likely to pair our favorite pour or dram with food, but this is quite common in Europe and other parts of the whiskey drinking world. So we're just catching on a bit, I guess. First, it seems there are some basic guidelines here. We don't want either the food or the whiskey to dominate. We want the flavors that complement each other well, but not necessarily producing too much of the same thing. We don't necessarily want to pair a sweet dessert food with one of the sweeter whiskeys, styles, or offerings within a category. We may not want to choose an Islay single malt to serve alongside of your best really smoky brisket. So we want them to be flavor friends, but not twins. And as I'm rather a novice at this yet, I'm going to try some of these right here on the segment, and I'll give you my honest feedback. Okay, I'll start with one that experience has taught me does pair well with whiskey, and that's chocolate. Bourbon goes well with most chocolates. Milk chocolate pairs well with the spicy dryness of rye whiskey. And for dark chocolate, that's a perfect match with more full-bodied whiskeys. And I know from experience, dark sea salt chocolate is exquisite with my favorite rich, smoky, peaty Islay single malts. Dark chocolate with orange is supposed to be right at home with malt whiskeys having citrus notes, like many Speysides or the straight-up Glenmorangie 10-year, which to me has a bit of a bitter orange on the nose and palate. Okay, so I'll give this a try. Here's the Glenmorangie 10 and a bit of orange flavored dark chocolate. So when tasting, I'll take a sip, take a little bite, and then follow with a second sip, and I'll give you my impressions. I know this whiskey very well. One of my go-tos. It has just a very soft and luxuriant profile. I have to say that's really, really excellent. So there's no question that those two complement each other very well. So let's get a bit cheesy. Like whiskey, many cheeses are aged and contain a broad range of subtle flavors and aromas. Aged cheddar is great with smoky scotches. Blue and Roquefort sit well with spicy, full-bodied bourbons and ryes. Soft cheeses like Camembert or Brie need a light floral whiskey, perhaps a lowland single malt such as Glenkinchie or Bladnoch. I think that delicate Inchgower or Speyside whiskey we tried on the show last year would also be a good match. Of course, many soft to mid-bodied whiskeys that are cask finished in ex-wine casks will practically yell out for this pairing with cheese. Here's some well-aged cheddar that I'll try with this bold, smoky Lagavulin Islay single malt. that works wonderfully well as well. The cheese seems to make the dram smoother and richer, and really lengthens the finish. So it just complements the smokiness in a really, really nice way. Well, okay, fruits and nuts are great treats to bring out when tasting whiskey. The sweeter the nut, the stronger and bolder the whiskey. Pecans and pistachios, for example. Bourbons do well matched with more bitter nuts like almonds and Brazil nuts. Smoky whiskeys do well with roasted peanuts or cashews. Dried fruit pairs with most whiskeys, especially bourbons that tend to be high in fruit esters, as we learned in our Chemistry of Whiskey episode. Fresh apples, like most desserts, require soft, light, or floral whiskeys. Again, like Lowland and Speyside scotches, or many of the pure pot still Irish whiskeys such as Tyrconnell. Here's a splash of Tyrconnell to give it a try with some fresh apple slices. Very nice. Wow, again another surprise. That's really nice too. It's hard to explain, but it just really, the tart of the apple just really kind of bumps up all the notes in this whiskey. I need to have a little bit more. Wow, quite exquisite. This brings us to the main course, meat. Steak pairs well with medium-bodied bourbons and ryes or lightly peated Scotch whiskies. Most other types of beef cuts and meatloaf go great with a good, smoky single malt or full-bodied rye. Salmon or oysters are best with an Islay single malt or high-proof rye. According to the owner of Dear Irving on Hudson, a swank Manhattan rooftop whiskey bar, sushi goes perfect with a dram of Dalwhinnie single malt Scotch. No doubt, bacon and barbecue ribs and many southern foods go well with almost any type of bourbon. For savory chicken or sausage, wheated bourbons like Weller's or Maker's Mark seems a most perfect fit, according to another whiskey-focused restaurateur. Sweeter barbecued sauces may work best with ryes like Michter's Single Barrel Rye. So here I've got a bit of barbecued pork with some sweet barbecue sauce that I'm going to try with this Michter's Single Barrel Rye. Oh, so nice. Let's try to get not too much here, but it's easier said than done. Oh, wow. Really has them coming really to life on the palate in a way I wouldn't have thought. Wow, just makes both of them better. I guess like a good pairing should. Anyway, this is something you can all research on your own. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. Next time you cook up a great meal for friends who appreciate whiskey, refer back to this episode or do your own research. You'll quickly arrive at some great pairings to go with what you're serving. Okay, all, we love food and we love whiskey. Why shouldn't they go together? Have a unique food and whiskey pairing that you found worked well? Please let us know. We'd love to hear from you. This is Douglas Dunbar, the Whisky Wizard for the Whisky Roundtable. Slanjava and bon appetit. And now...